Hey there, it's Flatbread Friday, and I had some ingredients to use up, and we're gonna do something really fun. I had some ground beef in my freezer, and I had some nice looking broccoli, and some Emmentaler cheese, and one of my favorite fresh market pizza crusts. And I have always said that a calzone is an inside-out pizza, and today we're gonna make a beef and broccoli calzone, and it's gonna be real good and real fun, and let's get it done. First thing we're gonna do is shred our Emmentaler cheese. Put it in our little shredder. And turn it around, shred it up. Our cheese is all shredded up, nicely shredded, and we're gonna need more than that. I thought about using cheddar because that goes good with beef and broccoli, but I'm going to use mozzarella instead so that features the Emmentaler flavor. We're going to take our broccoli and cut it into florets, and then we're going to chop them up. Depending on how big and small they are, we just go around and trim them off. Here are the florets from our whole bunch of broccoli. The big one. Now we're going to cut them into smaller pieces and move along to the next ingredient. Here are our tiny little broccoli florets, ready to go. Next thing we're gonna do is dice up a sweet onion and cut it this way. Then we're gonna turn it around and cut it the other way into a nice dice. I think that'll be a good amount. It's not quite the whole thing, it's about 3/4 of the whole thing. And I've turned it around, and now we're gonna go this way. Now we just go around and go this way for a little bit. And then we'll go this way for a little bit. Cut them into a nice dice. So nice evenly sized pieces. And our onion is prepped. Our diced onion is all ready. Now we're gonna move over to the stove and get started on our filling. We have a skillet over medium heat. Here's our ground beef. We're gonna break it up, add it to the pan, cook it up till it's no longer pink. Our beef is starting to cook. We're gonna season it with some salt and pepper, some garlic powder, because unfortunately I'm still out of garlic, but I'm gonna make it to the store pretty soon. And I like tarragon with my beef, so in goes some tarragon. Smells so licoricey and so good, and a little dash of red pepper flake. Oh, Kelly's talking. We're gonna incorporate our seasonings and chop up our ground beef. Keep cooking it until, like I said before, it is no longer pink. And then we're going to continue on with our filling. Smells so yummy. I think it's going to be real good. Our beef is still a little tiny bit pink, but I think it's time to remove it from this pan and transfer it to a plate. We're going to scoop it out with a slotted spoon. The slots on that spatula are too big, so they'll all fall back in. So we're going to scoop it out and set it aside. It's now time to put our diced onions into the same pan, into the fat that was exuded from the meat. And onions take a little longer to cook than broccoli, so we're going to cook these for a little bit. And then we're going to add in our broccoli. Soften them up a bit. Looks like our onions are softened up nicely, and in comes our broccoli. Stir that in with the onions. And cook this down a little bit. These veggies need a little additional salt and pepper. Every layer of every dish should be seasoned adequately. and we're gonna cook that down. Our broccoli is getting soft. It's not quite soft enough, but if you can see, all these dried up brown bits have stuck to the bottom of this pan. I maybe should have added some oil when I put the vegetables in, but instead, to deglaze the pan and add a little flavor, I actually have in my refrigerator, I have a bottle of flat champagne. So in you go. I'm gonna scrape up those brown bits. Incorporate that flavor into our veggies. And cook it for a few minutes longer till the liquid absorbs or evaporates. That worked. The brown bits are all, as you can see how clean the bottom of this pan is now. So that flavor is incorporated, and now it's time for our ground beef to go back in with our vegetables. Any juices that have accumulated on the pan too. Stir that in. Blend these well. And we're going to continue on with our filling. And our filling has got to cool down once it's cooked. You don't want to put hot filling in bread dough. So once we get finished, we're going to set it aside to cool. We'll shape out our calzone sheet that we're going to wrap our filling in. But first thing we're going to do when the beef is a little hot, we're going to add in the rest of our ingredients. The first thing that's going in, because I wanted this filling to be creamy, is some sour cream. Just over half our shredded Emmentaler. This actually might be enough. I'm gonna see what happens. Stir this around until it's melted. I'm gonna actually reduce the heat. It smells so good, it's gonna taste so good. This is no kind of calzone I have ever made in my life, and I'm having a blast doing it. The Emmentaler amount was enough. This is creamy and cheesy and beefy and broccoli-y, and now we're gonna let it cool down, and I can't wait to taste this. It smells so good. It's time to form our crust. We're going to sprinkle some flour onto a work surface. Parchment is easier to clean up than getting the flour off the wood. So that's going to make it nice and easy. Here comes our pizza dough ball. Get the flour on it. Maybe it's not that easy to clean up. And form it into a rectangle. Get it stretched out from the middle, out to the edges. We don't need to be that big. But we don't want it to be too bready, even though the breadiness is my favorite part. I'm gonna have to poke this a little bit, I think, to get rid of some of these air bubbles. But we're gonna let this rest for a bit, and when our filling is cooled down, we're gonna fill it up, roll it up, and bake it up. Crust is ready, filling is cooled, and now we're gonna put our calzone together. Here comes our filling, going on. Just down the center. nice and evenly. Looking good. And now we roll in the ends. Give them a pinch. And this goes into the center. Give that a pinch too. And this one's going into the center again. Shape it up. And the oven is preheating to 350 degrees. We are now going to transfer this to a sheet pan lined with parchment. The reason I put this back on a piece of parchment is so we can just flip it over onto our new parchment. Shape it up again. And here we have our beef and broccoli calzone on our pan. The next thing we're going to do is beat an egg or two and make an egg wash. Our eggs are all beaten up. Now we're going to brush this all over our calzone, especially on the ends and the edges. Keep going till we're all brushed up. Our egg wash is on. Our calzone is well coated. And before we put it in the oven, I'm going to sprinkle on some sesame seeds. And now we're going to bake this for about 20 minutes, maybe 30. We'll see how it goes. And we are all ready to go in our beef and broccoli calzone. Our beef and broccoli calzone is out of the oven. And a good way to test to see if a calzone is done is to tap it. And if it sounds hollow, it is done. So we're gonna let this rest for a minute and then we're gonna slice it up and serve it. When this came out, there was a lot of grease. So I'm thinking that we may have a seam split on the bottom. But we're going to cut it open anyway. Actually, let's do it right here where the crust is broken. Maybe this particular pizza crust isn't good for a calzone. Let's see what we got. Oh, so nice. This is what we look like in the middle. And it's going to be so tasty. And like I say, it was a few little breakages, but not so bad. Here's what we look like. Our beef and broccoli calzone. It's going to be so yummy. Here we are on our plate, ready to take a bite. Thank you for joining me for this week's edition of Flatbread Friday. Here's our broccoli and beef and broccoli calzone. And now we're going to take a bite of it and see how it came out. So dang delicious. A little messy, but so good. And that's going to be a good dinner for me tonight. And we'll see you again at the next time and the next Flatbread Friday and whatever we're doing next. Have a good one.